Hey, what's up? I'm Kyle Winjack. I'm a professional songwriter, musician, producer, and I wanted to talk about some of the best career advice that I've ever got. And it came from somebody who's one of my personal musical heroes. I got a chance to hang out with him on a couple occasions, actually. You know, they say don't meet your heroes, but sometimes they turn out to be cool. So, for those of you that know the band Wolfpack, one of the members, his name's Theo Katzman, and I really love his solo project in particular. And in fact, there was one time where I met a bunch of the members of the band. I was chatting with Jack Stratton, who's the one of the founding members, and basically what I told him was like, yeah, Wolfpack's cool, I dig it, but like really I like Theo's stuff. And like I didn't mean it for it to sound like that, but like as the words were coming out of my mouth, I'm just like, no. But he was actually super cool about it. He was like, yeah, I know Theo's fucking sick. Which is true. Anyways, I digest. So the way that I met Theo the first time was at a podcast that he was filming with Ari Herstand. He was a guest on Ari's podcast, which is super cool. It's called How to Make It in the New Music Business. And he gets on a bunch of really cool guests to talk about whatever they're an expert in. And, Theo was gearing up to release his new album. Ari was gearing up to release his new book. And they did this live event that you could buy a ticket to go see. And there was maybe 50 seats. I went and bought a ticket, got to ask a couple questions on the podcast. And then after the podcast, most of the people kind of just left pretty quickly. And I was hanging out with some other people who were sticking around, just chatting, networking, whatever. And Ari and Theo stayed behind for like a couple hours, actually, just like hanging out with us, talking with like a small group of people who stayed, which was super cool. And at one point, Theo told me something that actually changed the trajectory of my career a lot. And basically, what he said was, look, man, what you're doing, what you're trying to do, is super hard. So do exactly what you want to do instead of some sort of watered down version of it. Because if you do something that you think might be a little bit easier or that you think might have a clearer path to, let's say, monetary success, best case scenario, you have some success with that, but now you're trapped because now that's the thing that you have to do and it's not quite what you wanted. So, it's going to be hard regardless. So why do almost what you want to do when you're already taking this really difficult path? And that was like, man, that changed a lot of things for me. Actually, that's why I stopped doing YouTube. Some of you, if you're an OG subscriber, you may remember that I used to do sort of like ear training tutorials and music theory stuff. And like people really liked them. They were well received, starting to get like a little bit of traction on it. And I'm sure that if I kept going with that, I could have developed that into something. And, if I was consistent with that, I probably would be making a living off of those videos by now. But it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. I feel what I really want is to be an artist, to create the songs that I want, and to work with other cool people who are really good at what they do, and just make cool records, essentially. And of course, I could have continued doing YouTube to kind of promote that, and that's what I'm doing now. So, you know, full circle. But I think that was just like a really eye-opening moment for me, and it was coming from somebody who I really respect musically, and as a person. He's just like a good dude. You should actually go check out the podcast that he did with Ari. I'm sure if you just search like Ari Herstand, Theo Katzman on Google or Spotify or whatever, you'll find it, and you'll actually hear me ask a question at the end of the podcast. Maybe I'll I'll throw that clip in the video here too.
Something that I hear a lot of in your music, and I know a lot of other music that I really admire, is this like element of like really stark contrast, and I think that's present in your music in a lot of ways, like singing just these like gutting lyrics to like something that you just like vibing to,
yeah, right,
along, like Good to Be Alone, I think was mentioned earlier today, and I think that's a really good example of like you're singing lyrics that maybe aren't necessarily like what you would think they mean literally, but you know what you mean just from all the context in the art. So I don't know if that's a question, but
I can speak to that.
Music,
at least as far as I can tell, in being a Western, someone who grew up in the West versus the East of the world, like American music, Western music, diatonic harmony, or I should say the piano keyboard, those 12 notes, and the chords that you find if you make triads out of each of them, they have a quality to each of them emotionally. Like we all know if somebody plays like C major, we're kind of like, right on. Or like it's like that's what that feels like. You know what I mean? And then it's like I flat the third, and it's like it feels kind of like that's obviously a real simple way of doing it. But I like to be, and the more I write and the older I've gotten in my songwriting, the more I try to be patient with finding the right harmonic setting, if you will, for the lyric. Because it's like, apparently, here's a cool story. Any Billy Joel fans in the house?
Hey, just saw him at MSG.
Don't get me started. Yeah. Anyway, Only the Good Die Young. Only the Good Die is really, happy song. It's like, wait, what? Only the Good Die Young. It's like actually kind of an intense song lyrically. Yeah. And I heard a story, I don't remember where I heard it, so I'm sorry, but apparently I heard he was in the studio and Paul Simon walked in, and it was like he had written it as like a dirge minor ballad. And apparently Paul Simon was like, man, that's too on the nose, man. Sad lyric, sad music. He's like, it's too much. Like, make the music really happy, keep the lyric where it is. And that'll just like be a totally wild experience where people will be like integrating this thing, but it's like, what are we saying? It's like, and I thought Bob Marley was always tremendous at that. It's like, feels so good. Next thing you know, he's like, overthrowing the government. It's like, whoa. It's like, whoa. You know what I mean? Marley there's a sort of way that lyrics can sink deeper, I think, and kind of hide in plain sight when you kind of like coat them in the natural feelings that the chords give you. Yeah.
Cool.
It's like sneaking the veggies in there.
Exactly. Sneak the veggies in there. Sometimes you need that support, and sometimes you want it to just be like, no, it's just a dagger to the heart. There's no way around this pain. Bang. Like 4-chord bang or whatever it is, with the 6 in it. It's like, forget it, dude. I'm a dead person,
So yeah, completely different topic than what I was talking about before, but I thought he gave a really great, insightful answer to that as well. Cool dude. And then probably like the coolest I've ever felt in my life was just a few days after that. So I've only met him twice. It was in the same week. And the second one was sort of just a chance encounter. I went to Hotel Cafe in Hollywood, and they do this event called Monday, where it's like kind of like a showcase for upcoming singer-songwriters. But on this particular night, it was an anniversary, maybe 10 years or something. So a lot of really heavy people came out, which is not unusual for this particular venue. There's footage of people like John Mayer kind of just showing up, sitting in, Phoebe Bridgers, same thing. And a lot of these people were playing at Hotel Cafe before they blew up, so they still kind of come around, and it's a great place. If you've never been to Hotel Cafe and you're going to be in LA, that's probably the one spot that I recommend checking out. Not that there's not other cool spots as well, but if you were to just go to one place, that's the kind of place that you can show up and you don't even really have to check what's on the schedule. There's going to be something cool happening. So anyways, I'm at Hotel Cafe, chilling at the bar, ordering a drink, and Theo walks in the back, and there's a sight line, and he sees me right away, and he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" He comes over, gives me a hug. He's like, "Hey, it's good to see you again." And so we chatted for like a few minutes, not near as long as the first conversation we had. That was like over an hour, but he had a good reason. It was kind of funny. It was in the maybe 5 minutes that we chatted at that bar, probably like 10 gorgeous women came up to him like, "Hey Theo, how's it going?" He's like, "Hey, I'll get back to you. I'm with my boy." I'm like, "Dude, fair enough." At a certain point came, he's like, "All right, I gotta go." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm surprised you lasted this long, man." But going back to what he said, I think is important as an artist. There's a lot of influences that maybe can take away from what you're trying to say artistically, because you think that it might be well received in a certain way. Or for me, what that meant was I've made my living as a sideman, as a hired gun, guitarist and trumpeter. That's kind of how I've paid my bills, and that's still a big part of how I pay my bills, is like flying around with tribute bands and playing wedding gigs, and I'm really grateful to have had that experience, and I still get to do a lot of cool stuff. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to stop performing ever, but I have realized, especially during the pandemic, I realized, because there's time to kind of slow down and think about things, that what I want personally is to be more heavily involved in the creative side of things, as in like creating things in the studio, and as a songwriter, and sort of crafting things over time, and coming up with a product, an artifact that can be shared and distributed. And that's kind of what I enjoy more than playing live. Although, like I said, if I would never want to give up either. But if I had to, I think the choice would be pretty clear for me. So since then, I've sort of been making conscious decisions to do things that will direct me in that way. And Theo's example when he was talking to me was that he used to write a lot of songs for like Pitch and maybe even Sync. He would be writing and producing songs to like try to get other major artists to record them, which you can make good money off of if you get one of them placed. But for him, he realized that that's not why he got into music, was to write songs for other people, or for the specifically like pop songs for the masses. It's kind of funny because, for me, that's actually something that I'm pursuing more now, is to, I'm going down to Nashville all the time to co-write with other people and pitch those songs to country artists, and same thing in LA. Just because that's not what Theo wanted to do doesn't mean that's not part of what I want to do, because the thing that draws me to that is that I get to work in different styles, which I do value. Like I like doing my artist thing probably the most, but it's refreshing to be able to play different styles and not having like a marketing issue. It's like, oh, what are you? Are you a pop artist or a country artist or a rock art? Like, so there are certain things that I wouldn't necessarily perform myself, but I still want the opportunity to participate in creating them. Like, really what it comes down to is that I want to be making cool stuff with cool people who are good at what they do. And that's kind of like the guiding principle now in my career. It's kind of like a mantra that I use when I'm trying to decide if I should commit to something or not, when I'm offered something. Because when I was starting out, I was just so stoked to be paying rent, playing music, whatever that was. And any opportunity that came my way, I would say yes. And I think that's cool when you're in your early 20s or early in your career, whenever that is. But I think I'm making a conscious decision now to be a little bit more selective of what I say yes to and what I do with my time. And even before that conversation with Theo, I was heading in that direction, but that kind of helped solidify it a little bit more for me. Yeah, and that's just to say that like my goals and my preferences don't have to be your goals. Just like for Theo, he didn't want to be doing the whole co-writing hustle, but I do because I'm learning a ton for that, and then I'm able to bring that knowledge and growth into my artist project as well, which so there's I feel like a bit of a symbiotic relationship with that. I think it just takes time to find your voice as an artist and what you really want to do, and you have to try a bunch of things to kind of get there. And yeah, and it changes over time. It's not like I've arrived and this is the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Maybe for some people it is, and that's cool. But for me, I think eventually I kind of get bored of everything and I want to have it evolve in some sort of way. So yeah, right now I'm, recording my my first full-length album and just kind of putting everything into that. And the other gigs that I have outside of that are supporting that in different ways, whether that's financially or in terms of like connections or skill building, and ideally all three. There's another great piece of advice that I got from like a music business class, one of the professors at Humber College where I went to music school. He had this concept that, and it's not just his, like I've heard lots of people talk about this, it's called the gig triangle. So basically you got three sides to the gig triangle, and one of the sides is the hang or the people, one of the sides is the money, and the third one is the music. And basically you need two of those to be happening for the gig to be worth it. So if you're approached for something and the pay sucks or doesn't pay, but the music is incredible and you love hanging out with those people, like, and maybe that's not even a gig, maybe that's just a jam session or whatever, it's like, hell yeah, do that. But if the music sucks, or if you don't like the people and it doesn't pay well, then what's the point? You'd rather, or at least I'd rather be doing something else. Sometimes you get lucky and get all three. But yeah, I just wanted to pop on and share that. For me, it was a really helpful insight. Hopefully it got you thinking about some stuff. So anyways, I'll catch you next time.